Hello folks, in this video we are going to be going over the 1989 severe tropical cyclone Orson. This is a pretty interesting storm in more ways than one here, so let's get on with it. With an interesting track, as Southern Hemisphere storms typically tend to have, unlike, not like saying the Northern Hemisphere doesn't, but Southern Hemisphere does have some quirks to it as well. Orson would originally start off, of course, as a depression forming to the north of Darwin, Australia on the 17th of April. It would become a cyclone just the very next day, undergoing an already unusual path here, seemingly heading away from Australia, but now recurving back. Orson becomes a severe tropical cyclone, or STC, here on the 19th of April in an Australian Cat 4 later that day. Keep in mind that the both Australian and American hurricane scales use category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. However, these have different wind speeds attributed to them. So these are the same names, but different wind speeds. So specifying Australian Cat 4. This thing would begin a easterly turn around the 20th to the 22nd, however, not before heading directly south and peaking while doing so, reaching 10-minute mile-per-hour wind speeds of 160 and a pressure of 905 millibars. It is estimated that Orson had 1-minute wind speeds of 180 miles per hour at this time. You just simply need to multiply the 10-minute figure by 1.14. Although, of course, this isn't exactly true, as this is just what is seen to have been mostly correct. Anyways, Orson would landfall near Dampier, Australia, at a still impressive wind speed of 140 miles per hour. Very interestingly, Orson managed to survive the long way around Australia, emerging back into water. However, so weakened was Orson that it just dissipated immediately afterwards on the 24th of April, 1989. Orson would, due to the relatively low population and population density of the west coast of Australia, not have too much an impact. However, Orson would still cause 5 deaths and around 17 million US dollars in damage. The community of North Rankin suffered only minor damage. These photos are from Panamonica. The storm would landfall at low tide, but that would not stop a storm surge of 3.1 meters, also known as 10 feet, and would also not stop the pretty severe beach erosion that ultimately occurred. Orson would damage both a weather station and an airport hangar, and also damage 70 homes in and around Panamonica. I hope I'm pronouncing that town named correctly. Sorry if I'm not. This thing was very interestingly very poorly monitored by the JTWC. They were issuing stuffs about its location, wind speeds, etc. However, this was very inaccurate compared to, especially, this is a pretty modern storm, all things considered, and it was just very just poor monitoring, poor wind speed estimates, poor almost everything except for track. And that was really it. So shame on the JTWC this time. This is Orson, sorry, is one of the most intense storms in the entirety of the Australian basin. There are only two other storms that beat it in terms of pressure, and if not mistaken, only two or three others that beat it in wind speed. Note that due to its impact and its intensity, Orson would be retired. This would actually be the very first O name to be retired in the entirety of the Australian basin as well, which is pretty unusual, all things considered, as when you look at, say, the Atlantic basin, by this time there are plenty of O names being retired. Usually around this time, with it going alphabetical, I names are the most retired in the Atlantic, and then there's still, and like from I to around O is around where you see the most amount of retired names, but it's of course different in the Southern Hemisphere, as their season is entirely different, their basin is entirely different, so conditions are different. And that's really it, folks, that I have for severe tropical cyclone Orson. I hope that you learned something from this video. I certainly did while researching. I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching.